Hey guys, it's the Informed Historian. Thanks again for taking some time out of your day to spend a little bit of time with me. But today I'm going to talk about the life of Major Robert Augustus Bailey, or as his friends called him, Gus Bailey. He was the son of Judge Edward Burke Bailey, excuse me, and Mary Corey. He had other siblings, but today I want to focus on him. A little bit of background information on his father that I thought was rather interesting. He was a Freemason, and he was a very respected judge in his community. In the years leading up to the Civil War, Judge Bailey was extremely politically active within his Democratic Party of the day, and he was very well known because of this. He was a very powerful man. When the Civil War broke out, Gus decided to side with the Confederacy, and his motives are not entirely known to historians, but we can take some pretty educated guesses based on a couple of facts. This area that he lived in Lewisburg, West Virginia, was still part of Virginia, and it was a very heavily Confederate-leaning region, so it could have been the influence of those around him. It could be the fact that the politics of the day, the Democratic Party, supported secession, and his father was big within the party, so he may have done it to please his father and his neighbors. It also could have been possibly due to his positions on slavery. I could not find any record of Gus owning any slaves, but I did find a record of the slave schedule, which I will post here for you to see, that his family did own 2 slaves, a woman about age 31 and a girl about age 14. Gus enlisted in the 22nd Virginia Infantry on June 6, 1861, and was elected captain of Company K, the Fayetteville Rifles. Eventually, he would go on to become major of the 22nd Virginia, and there's also records that show that he was lieutenant colonel of the 14th Virginia Cavalry briefly, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but neglected to do so. He was also part of the 142nd Virginia Militia. As a member of the 22nd Virginia Infantry, Major Bailey did have to work in coordination with Colonel Patton, George S. Patton Sr., that is, who had a house and lived in Charleston, West Virginia, the grandfather of the World War II hero, Patton. And as his subordinate, if anybody is familiar with Brigadier General John Eccles, the man had a lot of health issues, and the man found himself ill quite a lot, and because of this, Colonel Patton would often find himself having to step up into leadership roles to command the brigade, and Major Bailey would step up and take command of the entire 22nd Virginia Infantry as a result of this to fill that gap. One of the better-known instances of this happening was at the Battle of White Sulphur Springs, when Major Bailey, or Gus as I've been calling him, took command of the regiment and led them to victory at the Battle of White Sulphur Springs. Colonel Patton was known to be slightly, shall we say, arrogant. He was very confident in his abilities as a commander, as a graduate of VMI. Bailey was not as confident as Patton was. The ironic thing about these two is when it came time for the Battle of Droop Mountain in early November 1863, the roles were kind of reversed with their personalities.
Colonel Cochran.
Yes, sir.
How many men does Averill have?
Sir, Colonel Jackson reports to me that Averill has 3,000 men.
I don't know. That's way too low. There's way too many campfires out there.
Colonel Patton, with all due respect, sir, I rode out this morning myself and inspected the men under my command in the 22nd, and I am confident in their ability to hold this place at all costs. The men are in good spirits, and it's excellent ground.
Are they in good shape from the march up from Lewisburg?
They're resting as well as they can. However, the enemy has to come up to hit us as well. They're going to be just as tired as we were.
I just can't help but feel that this whole area is a trap. We should have stayed back at Lewisburg or White Sulphur. The ground's open down there, and it's much more suited for open combat.
Well, sir, if you do feel this is a trap and you do feel that our lines are too exposed here, I can take 2 of my 6 companies from out of the trenches here that are mounted and put them on the LaBellier Road to guard our flank.
To reinforce Thompson?
Yes, sir.
And if need be, I can always move some of our force over to assist with that should the need arise.
I feel that the 22nd is fulfilling a more important role protecting our artillery at the moment, but we can hold it in reserve if need be.
Colonel Patton became the cautious one and urged them not to get too overly ambitious because this could possibly be a trap by the Union Army, whereas Major Bailey rode out on his horse and inspected his men and was so confident in their ability to defend that place and in his men's ability, and it was just kind of ironic to see those two personalities flipped. And ultimately, Major Bailey would take command of the 22nd Virginia here at Droop Mountain, where he would be mortally wounded. During the fighting that took place at Droop Mountain, the 28th Ohio Infantry and the 10th West Virginia Infantry came against dismounted Confederate cavalry, which took off and ran in the general direction of the 22nd Virginia Infantry. When this...
Get out of here! Let's go, man! Rally! Stop running! Rally! Rally! On me! On me! Stop running! Stop!
And Major Bailey, in vain, tried to grab the flag from a wounded soldier, and that was when he caught a Yankee bullet in his guts, which anybody who knows about the Civil War and their weaponry, that is basically a death sentence if you were shot in the guts. However, going back to what I was saying earlier about him not being particularly well liked, there's an account of a Sergeant Mays who saw this whole thing go down. He saw Major Bailey take his wound, and they left him there to be captured by Union soldiers. After he was captured, he was taken to a nearby farmhouse where he died on November 11th from his wounds. He was buried in Lewisburg, and you can still visit him today at the Old Stone Church Cemetery there in Lewisburg. He's buried kind of behind the church in a nice shady spot. As you can see from this photo of me standing there, wasn't a very good photo opportunity because of the time of day it was, but it's a very peaceful spot for the Major to rest next to his mother. And that's another little bit of a tragic story. Going back to Judge Bailey for just a moment, his wife had died in February of 1862. Gus died in November of 1863, so this old man has lost his wife and his favorite son, and it even says in his obituary when he died, I'm of course paraphrasing here, I'll put an image here so you can see it, that he basically fell into a deep depression there for a long time because of all the loss that he suffered, and he ultimately moved out to Missouri with the rest of his family, and I guess to get away from everything and all the memories, and he is buried in Alabama today. If anybody wants to go see Judge Bailey, it's going to be a little bit of a drive unless you're in Alabama watching this. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and learned something from it. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. If you have any special requests, I would love to hear them. This wasn't quite the format that I planned to take with it. However, things do tend to happen for a reason. And it didn't really occur to me until I was on my way here that the reason this happened was because this was the last impression that my dad knew about before he died. I was in constant contact with him as bits of my uniform were being made and things were coming in the mail, and he would get just as excited as I did when I'd show him that, you know, Joe put the braid on my hat, and I just got this brand new jacket and these new pants, and oh, I got these new boots, and he was just so excited to see this, and I wish he could be here to see it, but I thought the least I could do was film this in his living room. So, it is what it is. So, thank you very much for taking a couple of minutes to spend some time with me. Take care, God bless, and I will see you at the next Uniformed Historian site.